Hello and welcome back to the Pit Wall Podcast, where this week we are breaking down the Hungarian Grand Prix. Today, please welcome special guest Kendra. She is filling in for Dawson, who had to miss this week, so he'll be back after the summer break. But it doesn't even matter. You wouldn't even have known he's gone yet because my driver finished higher than Red Bull, which means that I get to start the podcast again, baby. We're on a streak, and it is not ending until a world championship is declared.
My favorite thing is that you didn't realize that until maybe 30 minutes after the race finished.
Well, it's because I never get to start it.
I know,
But here we are. We are 3 races in a row, baby. I know we didn't do Austria, but 3 races in a row that I got to start the podcast. Before we get started, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow at the Pit Wall Pod. And there's much to talk about this race, but as all races go.
Well, first, I have to say something about your outfit.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I'm not going to lie. I did a little bit of research before this, and I went back and was watching the Canadian Grand Prix video that y'all did, recapping Canada, which was only 4 races ago, mind you.
That feels like a lot longer than that, but go ahead.
It honestly does, but from what I looked at, it was about four races.
Okay.
And you were wearing the exact same hat, which Dawson had complimented you on, saying congratulate. Like,
I do remember
very
this.
Nice hat. But I also just have to mention that one of the things that you said within the first 30 seconds.
It was 5 races ago. Anyway,
5 races, 4 or 5. Is that the Canadian Grand Prix was one of the races that brought back your love of F1.
Yep.
And I just have to say, it has been an absolute madhouse of a season since then. This, of course, is only my 2nd season watching fully. And it has just been an absolute madhouse. So I just want to know, for my own personal curiosity, how's it feeling? How's the season going? Are you
for me?
Yeah.
That was an interesting segue. I thought it was going to be about my outfit. I was like, is there some weird psychological combination that I wear?
The hat was the video that I watched. It worked.
Okay. Just so you know, the way I choose my outfits is based off how Mercedes did. So when Lewis did very well, I come Lewis themed.
Okay.
It's very thought out. I feel like this is a banger of a season. Got to be honest. I wish Max hadn't done so well at the beginning and we could be having an insane season. If you just don't delete like the first 4 races, we would be having one of the best F1 seasons ever. Does not eclipse 2021 because it doesn't matter if 7 race winners, if there's not a title fight. But we'll see. And I'm going to COTA later this year and I have hopes. So before we get too much into it.
One other thing.
Okay.
And I think you're going to like
You're breaking my format. I'm supposed to have done quality in 60. There's people waiting for a quality in 60.
I know. But you did say in that video, post-quali, Mercedes is back, baby.
Yeah, Mercedes is back. And I was right. They're back. I know. I only declare it once a year. And this time I was right.
You were right. I have to give you that. So.
All right. You know what? That was worth breaking the format for.
I'm sorry.
All right, here we go. Let's get into the race. There's only like a little bit to talk about. A few topics to talk about. But here we go. 3, 2, 1. First things first, qualifying. The Alpine sucked. P19, P20 back where they belong. P18, Zhou Guanyu. P17, George Russell. So back to out in Q1, I guess. And so was Checo, who crashed and got beat out by a K-Mag. Your boy Logan Sargent in P14. Still got beat by his teammate, though. In P13, Bottas, who's probably going to replace him in P12. Nico Hülkenberg in P11. Once again, pretty strong qualifying from him. Yuki, despite crashing, made it into Q3. Daniel Ricciardo, P9, double RBs in Q3. Then we had double Astons again, P8 and P7, with Alonso leading the 2 of them. We had Charles Leclerc in P6. Honestly, thought they would have been a little bit better. Lewis Hamilton in P5. Carlos Sainz in P4, Max Verstappen only in P3, and a front row lockout from McLaren with Lando Norris getting pole, which we all know what that means.
Botched.
So let's as we do, we're going to talk about the main drama last.
Okay.
So I'm going to set you up perfectly. How about let's talk about Williams first since you're here. So Alex Albon had a race.
It was okay.
It
was better than what Williams was expecting. They did go into this weekend saying, we'd have no upgrades. We aren't really expecting it to do well. This is just kind of a race that we're going to see how it's going.
P14.
P14.
P14. Not great.
not great.
But the main thing was their strategy, which Alex Albon came on the radio complaining about. And he was like, we can't just be doing this. And I think it's time for James Vowles to take over strategy at, or at least start slashing some heads at Williams and get some better strategic minds in there. Because I know James Vowles and I know his strategy. He's as good as he is for a reason.
Yeah.
Valtteri as James is a meme is because it worked. Which, by the way, Valtteri Bottas just moves over when he's told to. Just throwing that out there. But anyway, and so does Lewis, by the way.
I am on Sergeant Nation Twitter.
Yeah,
I wonder why.
She's in the Delulu of the Sarge.
But that's a lot of what people have been saying throughout the season is, yeah, of course the car is bad, but the strategy isn't there.
Yeah, it's not. You got to be functioning as a whole team.
And of course, a lot of my stuff is Logan based. And a lot of it is saying, if the strategy might have just been a little bit better, a little bit different, if they would have actually paid attention to the undercut and everything, maybe he could get a little bit better results.
I'm a firm believer in Williams being a firm midfield contender in 2026. I think that's where we're all going. I think the Mercedes engine is going to be the best. And so that's where we're going. So, I mean, how did Sargent finish?
He did finish 17th, which is not the best. And his qualifying was, I mean, like you said, he was right up next to his teammate. He did have a botch start that made him lose 4 positions, but was able to gain them back a little bit. At least 17th. It's not the best, but it's not the worst it could have been. He finished.
For me personally, I think he needed to at least be 16th.
Yeah.
At this race, you can let a Russell and a Checo go by him. That's fair, but I think after that you got to start being like, really.
He did overtake Checo at the beginning of the race.
At one point, he did overtake Checo.
The Williams overtook the Red Bull. It just.
Yep.
And we've talked about this a little bit before, but Logan did get the second fastest lap of the race, which I know what you're going to say, but Albon has been giving him credit and saying that he does have pretty good race pace. It's just the strategy and the car.
And the driver.
I
love you, Logan. I hope I get to meet you at some point. But let me just say, when you're on low fuel with clean air and fresh, soft tires, if you don't throw in some pretty decent laps,
was it clean?
And you're comparing him to Ocon, who has already lost a seat.
Well, Ocon put on softs too.
I know,
but
he already lost a seat.
I know.
So,
but Logan hasn't yet. So.
Yep. Well, I warned her I was going to say this because I didn't want to make her sad, but I have wanted Logan to do well, and he's running out of time for me personally. So I don't know. I mean, if Mercedes doesn't end up needing Valtteri Bottas, the last thing I'd want to do is see Bottas lose a seat. So
I think I did see something about a driver announcement for Williams for that second seat coming up in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, so that would be Sainz or Bottas, probably.
Unless they keep Logan.
If they're going to keep Logan, I don't think they would do it this early. I'm just going to be honest. You have to agree with me on that. If they're going to keep Logan, they wouldn't be doing it this early. But that could be fake because it all could be rumors and maybe nothing will happen.
Rumors. Yeah, we don't know.
I think Carlos Sainz is screwing himself out of waiting so long.
I agree.
Well, we could have a whole podcast about Carlos Sainz, but we're not going to. So let's talk about. Let's keep moving up a little bit. So Sauber, P17, very, very race. How did Joe do?
Joe didn't do any better. He was 19th. He hasn't been doing great for a while.
Yeah. Joe is out. I'm almost certain.
Yeah.
But it's getting weird. If Sainz doesn't want to keep his seat, maybe they keep Joe for a year. I mean, he's not crashing all the time.
He's not crashing, but he's also not delivering and getting points.
See, Sauber has no reason to invest any money right now.
Yeah.
Because why would you put more money into an already agreed price for a team?
Yeah.
Like imagine you sign your house and then you're to sell it and you're like, you know what? For free, I'm going to put new windows in. No one does this. No one does this.
I mean, Joe qualified at 18th. He finished 19th.
Yeah, see, that's not good.
Yeah.
And Bottas being P17, I mean, we all know the Sauber is the worst car for sure.
Yeah.
There's no question. But maybe in the future, one of the more functional teams, we'll see. So Alpine, next dumpster fire. So Gasly, hold on. Okay. Sorry, George just texted me. I thought it was something important.
Are you good?
So Gasly DNF'd again because they had some leak in their engine, and it's just, I don't know how many times you have to take a grid penalty. He started from the pit lane, ladies and gentlemen. He did not. It's not like he qualified P9 and they were like, oh, well, we should start and just see if we can make it work. Kind of like what Leclerc did in Monaco years ago, which they still shouldn't have done. But, oh my gosh.
At what point do we just start feeling bad for him?
Gasly? Oh, I've been feeling bad for him since he got fired from Red Bull. I've been feeling bad for him since then. I mean, how could you not feel bad for him on the same weekend as his friend dying and all this stuff? Like, it's just, his whole career has been depressing. Yeah. He did win a race, but the Monza curse. So,
and SD Bestie didn't do much better.
Yeah, and
he only got 18.
And Ocon, I think we're expecting a Haas announcement. My dad made an interesting point though, and I think we're going to talk about this when we get to Red Bull. But what if Haas got Checo? Because hear me out, Checo, I'm gonna dunk all over him here in just a minute.
Oh, I'm ready for it.
But on the other hand, Checo is always great when he has something to punch up to. Like, you have no idea what targets Red Bull is setting. Like, if he's 1/10 off on a 10-lap stint of a specific number that they want him to set, it's like mental torture. But when he's at Force India, he wins a race, he punches up, he makes Q2 sometimes. Like, it's just like he has an attainable target.
Yeah.
Because no one's Max Verstappen's team, he's not going to beat Max Verstappen.
His goal right now is just to be second to Max. And he can't even do that.
So I think maybe imagine Checo and Ollie. I could see that as a lineup. I'm just saying, I don't think it's the worst idea.
I don't think it's the worst
idea. He's better than Ocon.
I can't picture it. I can't picture it at all.
I think but it's funny because he's lost some seat to Ocon before. So anyway, we'll see. But it's just an interesting thought. Let's talk about Haas. K-Mag, how did he do? Your favorite driver?
Don't even get me started on K-Mag. He did okay. 15th.
Yeah, Haas didn't have an incredible weekend, especially considering what they've had recently.
Yeah, he didn't make any noise, which was good.
Well, he lost the seat, so.
Yeah, he did. That was. I did make a note of that. He is confirmed for not rejoining Haas, and I have seen conflicting news talking about whether or not he will be staying with the Haas family. I saw some stuff saying that he would like to stay as a reserve driver, but I also saw a few news sources today saying that he's not for that. He doesn't want to stay in the Haas family.
I think he's done.
You think he's done?
I think he's
F1
done.
total?
Yeah, I think he's done racing.
Really?
Yeah.
No other series?
I mean, he can go to Indy, I guess, if he wants to, but I don't see it. There's with all the drama that's going on. I don't see him going to IndyCar. I think he's done. I think we've seen the last of him in a series like that. So which is just basically those two. I mean, maybe he could do Le Mans, but still, I just don't see him doing that. So he has a kid, just walk off into the sunset with your 12 penalty points. So
10.
Yeah, we all know. Nico Hulkenberg, P13, not great. They're expecting more, but if Hulkenberg's only getting 13th, in my opinion, that's the true pace of the car that weekend, because I'm a big Hulkenberg stan these days. I think I really like how he's kind of turned his career around. I think that podium's out there for him.
Can I say this seems like a disappointing result for Haas?
Yeah, I would
Compared
agree.
to how they've been doing, it's kind of been like the Haas revolution. All the people with Haas delusion syndrome have been like, it's not a delusion. We're doing great. Everything is fine. And then
I think it's just a symptom of Ferrari waking back up and RB. It ebbs and flows between those bottom feeder team, midfield bottom feeder teams of like which one is the best.
Yeah.
So it's just that weekend.
Okay.
I mean, they weren't great in Monaco, and it's like, this is Monaco without the walls.
But that was also Monaco early season before I feel like they truly found a lot of pace with the car.
Yeah, sure. But think about it this way. A bunch of teams brought updates and they barely fell.
True.
And they'll probably be back. So Haas delusion syndrome is alive and well. Don't try and kill it off now. When Nico Hulkenberg leaves, game over. But Ollie Bearman.
That is.
I know we know it's Bearman, but we say Bearman.
Bearman.
Tell me about Daniel Ricciardo. Let's talk about RB.
RB, I mean, I know we already did our qualifying 60. If he would not have gone out for that last lap with the tires, he is the only driver in Q3 that went out after the rain for that final lap that actually managed to get a little bit more pace with the car,
Right.
and that barely put him above Yuki. But in the race, he finished outside the points. He's in 12th.
Yeah, that's not great. I don't think it matters, though, because we'll talk about Red Bull in a second, but I don't think it matters. Yuki P9, great job, improved, moved up a spot, crashed. I really respect how his attitude and how disappointed he was with himself. The Yuki of yore is very different than the Yuki of present, and I'm very, very proud. I'm proud of Yuki. I'm proud of Yuki.
I saw his onboard after the race of him walking off and limping because apparently he had massive bruises from that crash, and the fact that he was like still like, put me in the car, like it's a little bit of pain.
It's a man right there.
Yeah. He's grown.
Yeah.
Character development.
Well, as you can tell, we're kind of going fast because we got to get to the main drama. So Ferrari thought they had a pretty good race. Charles Leclerc, P4, felt like that was the best he possibly could have done. I thought he drove a fantastic race considering the overall pace of the Ferrari this weekend. You could say fourth fastest car, and that would be pretty accurate. Beat Max Verstappen. And beat his teammate, even though he started behind his teammate. So I thought Leclerc drove a great race.
Yeah, I think he definitely got a good push off the line, I believe.
Yeah, he did.
From what I remember.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Carlos right there, 6th. So it was a Ferrari sandwich of the Red Bull.
Yep. And they both beat Checo, which is easy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me talk about Mercedes. So Mercedes started off with not the best. I thought going in, obviously in my predictions, I said I thought he could win. I immediately knew, I had no delusion after the first practice. I was like, all right, they're not winning this weekend. Like I just knew. Unless an Austria thing happens. But even in Austria, they looked a little stronger. So I was like, okay, maybe I should have been more realistic. Because like every year, even when Mercedes sucks, Hungary's a good track for them.
Yeah.
This year was kind of not that case, which I'm okay with. I would rather there not be one random track that they're good at. I'd rather be one high downforce track that's rare that, not the best. And even still, Lewis Hamilton finished P3. And George Russell, who started back in F2, got all the way up to P9 or sorry, P8, sorry. And it wasn't the greatest thing. I thought maybe he could have recovered better. He had a very bad qualifying. Team made some mistakes. He made more mistakes. But, he got some points, and that's what really matters. Now, am I about to flip and say that Checo had a bad race? Yes. But I also think George Russell didn't have a great race. But I think Mercedes as a whole came out of this. Honestly, out of all of the front teams, Mercedes came out the most unscathed this weekend. Got a podium. Second driver got some points. No drama. Zero drama. I mean, okay, George Russell got knocked out, but he made it up, so it's kind of like...
It worked.
Early in the season, a 7-8 is where we were. So, like, the fact he finished 8th is kind of like...
And he made up all of that. I mean, climbing through
it's fine. And Mercedes outscored Red Bull, if I'm doing my math correctly. Hold on. 24. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
and Lewis.
Oh, wait. No, I did my math wrong.
Uh-oh.
Wait. No, I did my math right. Yeah, I did my math right. Outscored Red Bull. So who cares?
Well, Lewis jumped 2 drivers.
Yep, and he got
in the standings.
And he broke the previous record of 199 podiums previously held by Lewis Hamilton to be 200 podiums previously now held by Lewis Hamilton. Major milestone, will never be done again in my opinion. Because I think the only person that has any sniff of a chance of doing this in our lifetimes is Max. I think he's going to quit way sooner than this.
Yeah.
So let's save McLaren for the last.
Yep.
Tell me about Red Bull's race. And I wish Dawson was here. Dawson, when you listen to this, just know I enjoyed your suffering.
Well, it
wasn't that bad.
It wasn't awful. I will say it was super funny on qualifying when Checo did hit the wall. Of course, we wish all the drivers well. We're happy.
But he was instantly fine.
He was instantly fine.
The medical car wasn't even triggered.
I think it was.
No, I heard Kim say it wasn't. According to Kim Illman, the medical car was not triggered. Oh, okay. Sorry. No. Sorry. According to Matt Gallagher, the medical car was not triggered.
Okay. For some reason, I feel like
I think it did come to pick him up as a recovery vehicle, but as far as I know, I don't think he had that big of an impact.
Yeah, but just your pure reaction, and from then on, I was like, that is it. He is not getting that seat.
Yep, he's gone.
You guys, again, I watched Canada breakdown before this. It was discussed then. When is Checo going to lose the seat? When is Checo going to lose the seat?
I've been talking about this since we started the podcast.
Mm-hmm. And I also, I'm sorry, as a Logan Sargent person, I also need to mention that this is the 8th time now in 2 seasons.
1.5.
1.5 seasons that Logan out-qualified Checo.
Yep.
Okay.
And
it was 6 in Canada.
And just think about how united people are against Logan Sargent. For like there's a big Logan Sargent nation, but I'm saying by and large, you get online, people are like, what are this guy's doing in F1, right? Just and he beat Checo. The guy that is at the front-running, constructor-leading F1 team, who should, by the way sports work, be at least the second best driver in the world. And is getting beaten by who is basically still a rookie.
Yeah.
Because we all know that he got pulled in from F2s too early, blah, 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 blah. He's basically still a rookie, and he's getting his butt kicked 8 out of 37 times. Plus.
And he only made it back to 7th.
And again, George Russell's behind him, so I can't say too much. But he had what would Max have done?
What would Max do?
WWMD. What would Max have done? Hit drivers left and right.
I mean,
there would have been 4 drivers left in this race, and Max would have been the second of 4.
Checo has won from the back of the grid. He has.
Yep.
So
it's true.
I have more expectations for him.
Secure Grand Prix 2020.
And then Max.
That's the outer loop of the. Sorry. Anyway, that's a great idea, by the way.
Max.
Uh-huh.
I know what everybody is saying. He is a world champion. He likes to do sim races. I do think there's a slight truth to the fact that he didn't get much sleep. Do I think that affected his performance? No, probably not. Do I think that affected his attitude? Oh my gosh, yes.
So here's the thing. And this is where the new people to F1 just don't understand. And I respect that viewpoint. I really respect that viewpoint.
I get cranky if I don't get sleep.
And maybe that had some impact. But just go back and listen to Max when he would DNF 7 times a season because of the the Infinity engine or the Renault engine. I mean, I don't think he ever drove the Infinity.
But even GP called him childish on the radio.
Because
he was fed up with him.
Listen. This is the true Max Verstappen.
He crashed into Lewis.
You know what? And he didn't get a penalty, and even the Red Bull fans are stunned that he didn't get a penalty. He took flight. Also, how did his car survive?
I have no clue. But Dawson, I love you, my dude. But he was just complaining about Lando doing the same things.
See, I called it, though, and you were watching the race with me. Yep. I called it because I said, oh, great. Because at the very beginning, he says, okay, so I guess we can do that now. We can drive people off the road. And I said, well, don't tell him that because I know how this goes. And I can reference some in case you'd want to know. Brazil 2021 shoved him off, Lewis off to take the lead. He kind of did in Abu Dhabi 2021. He definitely did in Saudi Arabia 2021. I think it was the time he shoved Ocon in Brazil in 2016 or 2017, not the time that they hit in 2018.
I know I should be on Dawson's side because I am Dawson today.
You're literally sitting in Dawson's seat.
But why?
I think everybody's on the same side. And you know what? I'm here for it because Max has had way too cushy of a time, and I think he's waking up to the realization that it's over. He will probably, unless something goes crazy wrong, still be world champion and still win by a considerable and easy margin.
In fairness, too. We were texting Dawson after the race, and he did say that he thinks it was Max's fault.
Oh, yeah, it was Max's fault. Yeah. I mean, Lewis, even in the steward's notes, it said, well, Lewis still, which is, by the way, this is bullcrap. But they were like, he took the exact same line that he's been taking the whole race because they can calculate that. But then they say, but he could have avoided it more. How? What do you want him to do? Break and let him go? Like, you what? Oh, go. wave him on. Does he need a blinker? Like, is that what it is? So anyway,
there was a corner there.
Oh yeah, there is a corner there. So it must be Lewis's fault. So unbelievable. Even he was like, yeah, he's not going to get a penalty because it's Max.
Yeah.
So we could lament about this all day, but you know what? Max was in fifth.
And
Max was in fifth.
Yeah, and I do think we just saw a rare instance of Red Bull messing up the strategy. I mean, Big Brain Hannah was over there stressing out on the pit wall.
Big Brain Hannah was having a day. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to happen. This is either a one-off blip or this is the start of Max going to Mercedes by 20. And I don't know, man. You just got to think about it. I truly want to give Max like a teeny amount of credit, though. This is what I'll say. And I've said this to you. I've said this to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Max has the entire pressure of the Red Bull brand on his shoulders, and he's the only one that can come through. And that's just not fair.
No.
It's just not fair.
He's just one dude.
Like, listen, Checo doesn't have to be P2 in the championship. He should be, but he doesn't have to be. He just needs to be finishing in like fifth, you know, just like keeping it up. But instead, he's having to take on all these drivers by himself. And you know what? He's a hothead. So, like, there's that. And I don't know. It's just, you know, he's under pressure that he's not used to having.
Yeah.
And this is how he was in 2021. Like, just go back and watch. This is how it was. And you know what? He's just not, I'm defending him and also complaining at the same time because he's just not built to handle it. Well, if you look how Lewis handles it, Lewis is up there by himself the whole race. Yeah. How did he do? He did great. He drove a fantastic freaking race.
And in fairness, Max's job is to drive. It's not to be liked.
Yeah.
His job is to drive and perform with the car, which he is doing.
Care. He doesn't care if he has fans.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. He doesn't need fans. Who cares? He doesn't need fans. Mm-hmm. Red Bull wants him to have fans.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. He's going to say how the car is, and you know what? I respect that. I also respect he's one of these people that he feels something in the car and he goes, there's something wrong, and they go, no, there's not. There's nothing wrong. Feels fine. And then 4 laps later, he's like, yeah, your brakes are on fire.
When you're that in tune with the machine, you know
it's impressive
when something's wrong. I mean, it's like when we get in the car. You can feel if something's just slightly off, and you're like, all right, that's it.
Yep. And then, I mean, so
I
anyway.
would love a pit crew to come take care of it.
Anyway, what I was going to say earlier about it doesn't matter for Danny Rick is I'm just fully convinced at the summer break, Danny Rick is moving to Red Bull. Nothing could convince me otherwise.
I don't know. I do feel like Yuki has a good argument. He has been nothing but loyal.
Oh, I agree. Yuki's the one that deserves it, but we all know how Christian Horner ignores it. Honda has obligations. I'm sure there's contracts with that they want Yuki. They don't want Yuki driving around a Honda, or sorry, a Ford like the Red Bull drivers have to currently. Mm-hmm. There's probably. And if Lance Stroll would just leave, I say this every week. If Lance Stroll would just leave, then that way, I mean, at this point, Alonso might leave.
You just reminded me. I'm
Point
so
it out because
sorry.
we got to get into McLaren and get off.
We need to talk about this. So this pertains to McLaren.
Okay.
But there were team orders for Aston Martin for Stroll to pass and then them to switch back eventually.
Okay.
That switchback never happened.
Was it the team's fault or Stroll's fault?
It was a team order, and Stroll did not deliver. Because if you look, Stroll finished 10th, Fernando finished 11th.
Outside of the points.
There should have been a switchback there. So I did see a slight video.
1 point. And the drivers.
Hey, 1 point is 1 point. Team orders is team orders.
Yeah, I know.
But at least they did not have to bring in a negotiator to do peace terms, which brings us to McLaren.
In the hostage negotiation / existential guilt.
Yep.
So I have Lando, so I think I am going to lead a little bit of this conversation. But how about you talk about how Piastri started the race?
Piastri, that little sunshine child, that little ray of awkwardness, did so well.
We all have a little Piastri in us.
We do have a little bit of Piastri, and he just managed to go. He just went.
And he managed his tires.
And he was doing so great, leading the race. Oh my goodness, another driver up top. And then it all came crashing down.
And then McLaren decides, in their infinite wisdom, that even though Lewis Hamilton was not setting any pace remotely close to a 1-2, decides, we're scared. So let's pull Lando in and undercut where the undercut is stronger than the fist of God in Hungary. And we're going to bring Lando in and undercut Oscar for the lead. At which point, and to Lando's credit here, they didn't say, hey, Lando, so what's up? How you doing? So we're going to bring you in, but then you're going to give up the position later. Do you agree to this? Because here's how F1 is supposed to work, okay?
Yep.
You discussed, they should have discussed this like 3 weeks ago. Like they should have known that if this happens, this is what's going to happen, all right? And Piastri has been a great teammate to Lando this whole time.
Yep.
And, you know, back in the day, like they would discuss ahead of time, all right, we're going to try this Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton. And the exact same thing happened, and it happened both ways. Like Valtteri Bottas got a P3 at this race, which, by the way, Crofty threw some shame at Lewis, which was not true. Valtteri Bottas got a P3 in Hungary because Lewis gave it back to him because they let him try to catch Kimi Räikkönen, and he couldn't do it, so then he gave it back to Valtteri. That is what happened. But that's because they talked about it in race strategy on like Friday morning. Like this is planned out. So to Lando's credit, they bring him in and undercut him, and he's like, great, and he comes on the radio later and says, oh, I would have asked to do this because I want to win the race, of course.
Of course.
So, anyway, he does it. Piastri goes another lap or two, comes in, and next thing you know, Lando has a 6-second lead on Piastri. And in this whole thing, they realize that Lewis is so far back that he's got no chance of catching him unless they crash into each other. So they're like, Lando, slow down. Tire management, here, that, here, blah, blah. And he's not responding. They make him radio check because they're like, are you listening? And then they're like, they're really like, McFly, are you in there? You know, and he's not answering. So then they start giving him emotional guilt because they're like, he's not going to give it up.
Remember our Sunday mornings
Our Sunday
together.
morning meetings.
Yeah, that's when you should discuss the strategy.
Remember how Lando Oscar pushed you on the swings yesterday?
Think of his mother.
What about the she stayed up. She has Pilates in the morning. How can she do this? You know, like just all this stuff. It's just so embarrassing because it just shows how incompetent McLaren is.
No matter what was going to happen, Lando was coming out of this weekend a villain.
Yeah. And so amazingly, he actually gave it up with like 2 laps to go. I genuinely still to this moment cannot believe Lando gave up the spot.
I would understand if he didn't, you know, because he is ahead in the championship.
Yeah. And he's the only chance. And again, like Mercedes, you got to sacrifice a driver to take on the championships, how it works. So anyway, Piastri ends up winning. It was the worst first race win I can remember.
It just ruined it. Sad.
It ruined it for him. Meanwhile, Lando got to have this like amazing first race win.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's some of Lando thinking I was here for like 6 years before I got mine and Piastri, like all this stuff.
And I will say, I mean, I did see a video today from Oscar posted on his social media, on his Twitter, being like, you know, the reality is setting in. That was amazing. I am not good with words. I'm better at driving a car. His words, not mine. So it's starting to hit, but still, it was just sad. Complete
disaster.
I mean, Lando didn't even celebrate it was his first win. You're supposed to douse that man in that champagne.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of people say, like, how did McLaren manage to bottle a 1-2 while also still getting a 1-2? That's exactly how I feel. It's like, what was that? What was that? And the reason I say McLaren is incompetent is because they're just clearly not ready to compete. They're clearly not ready as a team structure to compete. There's too many fires or too many cooks in the whatever. There's too many people.
Too many cooks
Zach
in the
Brown's
house.
there sometimes. He's not. Like I don't know. He's fine. When he's not there, he's off firing IndyCar drivers. Like I throw out bottles of water. Like it's just like I can't. So McLaren just disappoints me because clearly they have the fastest car, and once again they managed to screw something up. Now they had such a lead on this weekend that luckily they still won, but. I don't know.
It was just sad. It was not the celebration that I feel Oscar deserves for his year and a half in F1.
Yeah, complete and utter disaster. So, anyway, with that said, give me your winner and loser of this race.
Ooh, I definitely think loser. I'm starting there.
Okay.
Even though they won as McLaren. With how much drama and tea was aired out on the radio, that is a Drive to Survive episode in itself.
Oh, just this is going to be bad, man.
All I need is just all of the radio, and we'll be fine. That will be the episode. Winner, I think you're going to judge me so hard. I definitely think Lewis.
I think I say Logan. I was like, no. Don't do it. Don't.
I definitely think Lewis. You know, they had a really hard start to the season. He just won, and he's still managing to stay up there and fight for the championships and stay a clean driver.
Yep.
It was impressive.
Let's go. That's right. I love when people in this seat juice up my favorite driver. My loser, man, I'm going to give it to Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Just a quiet disaster that they got lucky that McLaren was pulling an equally bad move that they didn't get a lot of talk about. But man, this team, you talk about a team that's incompetent. There's one. Not as bad as Alpine, though. Alpine, actually, I take it back. My loser is Alpine. Alpine, they've lost. They should lose their team. They're that bad. Winner. I don't even need to explain. Sell the team. Alpine. Winner, since you gave it to Lewis, I'm not going to take that.
You should give it to Logan.
I'm going to give it to Leclerc.
Aw.
I'm going to give it to Leclerc. I think he drove a great recovery drive this weekend. And I thought that Ferrari has had a rough couple. And yes, they lost P2 in the Constructors' Championships. But I think that Leclerc is doing the thing that happens to Lewis every year is I am the Ferrari driver. Mm-hmm. Lewis is I am the Mercedes driver. And, he didn't beat him in qualifying, but it doesn't matter. So
he's doing well. I do have to give a shout out to the Red Bull engineers that managed to fix Perez's car in that amount of time. Just from watching the onboard and seeing how the left side was completely cracked. Kudos to them.
Let the cost cap reign, baby.
Let the cost cap reign.
And with that, we will see you on the next one. Subscribe, follow at the Pitwell Pod. Bye.
Bye.